Hello everyone, and welcome to the showdown between Bretonnia, who's going to be led by the Fey Enchantress, and Norsca, who's going to be led by Big Daddy Throg. So here we are. Can the chivalrous Knights of Bretonnia take on the brutish hordes of Norsca? So as far as the army composition goes, in the front line, I do have a combination of the Pilgrims and Foot Squires. So the Squire is definitely not a bad choice against Norsca. They do have decent armor piercing, which isn't going to be super useful, but I suppose if there are Premier and some heavy-hitting monsters, it's going to help a little bit. But more importantly, they have a nice bonus for his infantry, and they also have 70 armor. So by the Bretonnian infantry standards, that's pretty good, and the 70 armor is definitely going to help mitigate a lot of the damage that the Berserkers and those hard-hitting Norscan infantry can have. On top of that, we do have a combination of Pilgrims. Not a combination, but we also have Pilgrims. And the Pilgrims, you know, they do their thing, and they have really good leadership. That's the thing about these guys. They're going to hold for quite some time, which is really going to open up the play for your Peasant Bowmen, as well as your Knights to do the heavy lifting. So in the front line, it's just going to be Pilgrims and the Foot Squires. And in the secondary line, we have three groups of the Peasant Bowmen with fire arrows, because the Norscans do have a couple troops that are going to be weak to fire. Throg, for example, I'm pretty sure has a weakness to fire, and he's very lightly armored. So the Norscan roster has a ton of good targets for the Peasant Bowmen with fire arrows. We can tear apart Berserkers with their 15 armor and no form of missile mitigation. We can go after Throg, and I think even the Big Daddy Dragons only have 70 armor, and they're also weak to fire. So like I said, a ton of good targets for the Peasant Bowmen with the fire arrows. And protecting the peasants, I'm sure they're feeling very comfortable. They have these peasant mobs. So the peasant mobs are going to be intercepting hounds. And obviously the front line of mine is going to get buckled eventually by the hordes of Norsca. I mean, their infantry are just far superior. So we're going to have to send in the peasants. And the peasants, of course, will have the blessings of the lady. And hopefully it'll work out well for them. So we'll see how these guys last. We'll check in with them after the fight, Bob. So we got these guys here. And we do have a couple of groups of halberds. So we do have men-at-arms with polearms, which are very good against Famir, good against dragons, good against Throg. They're just a solid anchor. They have charge defense against large foes. They have armor piercing. They have bonus versus large. Definitely very good in the Norsca matchup. On top of that, for the Knight Corps, we do have two groups of the Knights of the Realm, which are quite good. Obviously not going to be able to do a ton of damage against things like Famir, but I figured, hey, I have Halberds, I have the double Paladins up in the sky with their bonus versus large. Let's use these guys to shut down Skin Wolves, to shut down Hounds, and just to cycle charge the light infantry, and we'll see how it goes. So that's pretty much it for my whole army. The double Paladins, of course, very good. These guys have a bonus versus large. They're very fast, great against the Frostworms, and I know King of the Dead here, who's my opponent, loves to use the Frostworm play. So we're going to be trying to see if these Paladins can fight those nasty dragons. Fey Enchantress, of course, with her standard kit, and that's pretty much it. So for the forces of King, he has a pretty nasty front line, which is going to be Berserkers and Marauders. You don't need much to beat the Bretonnian front line. The bigger issue then is dealing with the Knights and other troops like that. So he has a front line of Berserkers and Marauders, two groups of Marauder Hunters with Javelins, which are going to be pretty good against my Knights. I mean, Knights of the Realm aren't super heavily armored, are they? Yeah, they have 90 armor, I guess. That's pretty heavy. But yeah, I mean, it's decent poke. They do have that bonus versus large, which regardless will help them quite a bit. And on top of that, he has two spears in the back, but the big Mongo units in his army are going to be these double Frostworms. So these guys are pretty nasty. Their breath attacks can do huge work. They have frostbite themselves, so if they catch you in a bad position, they can actually just really end the game pretty quick. So the double Frostworms, Big Daddy Throg, and it looks like we're going to have a Deathcaster with the Spirit Leech and Fate of Buna. Buna very good against Bretonnia. It's great at melting things like Grail Knights, and that's why I didn't want to go too expensive, because if you bring like Grail Knights, they often get slapped with Buna, they get a breath attack, and they're just going to be pretty much useless from there. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's get this show on the road, guys. So my opponent, the Mighty King, is going to be advancing, but he's taking a lot of firepower. These Marauder Berserkers are taking tons of these fire arrows and definitely taking quite a bit of damage. And look at this. The Hounds try and slip in. So very sneaky little play here from King. He rushes in with the Hounds, but the brave peasants of Bretonnia, flying through the air like the champions they are going to take that charge, and it's going to buy me a little bit of time. So the big dragon comes in, but the Knights of the Realm are going to be charging back in, and the two Paladins of Bretonnia are going to be your shield, and they're going to be flying in to attack these Frostworms. So we do have our anti-large Knights, and we've managed to kind of falter the charge a little bit. So I might be missing this Foot Squire charge here, which is a little bit unfortunate, but the other charges have all been made. So Battle Pilgrims are going to be going fisticuffs with the Iceworm Marauders. They're not having the best time. Iceworm Marauders are very strong, and he does get in with some Warhound, so with all the different attacks and angles, he is able to slip in here, but the Peasant Bowmen are going to be okay. I'm going to pull them back, and the Knights of the Realm will be swarming in, and you can see I'm actually pulling back these Peasant Bowmen who are going to be protected by the Battle Pilgrims, so these Beasts of Tashnar should be cut down pretty quickly. In the back, the Dragons are back up in the skies, attacking the Paladins. Now, I don't want this fight. The Dragons are pretty damn strong, so I'm going to take advantage of the fact that I'm a little bit faster than those guys, and I'm going to be running back. So we have stabilized. The Knights of the Realm kind of intercepted the pressure here. I have some Foot Squires fighting up in the front line, actually winning pretty handily against these Berserkers, so quite happy with the armor and bonus versus infantry there. We're able to fend off the Hounds on pretty much every front, so the Bretonnians able to stabilize this flank very heavily. Granted, Big Daddy Throg is in the back, and the two Dragons are going to be coming back to the battlefield. So what you do with the Paladins, obviously when you're fighting a superior opponent, you wait for him to go in and attack something else, and then you counter-strike like this. So we jump in, we attack Throg, we do have some men-at-arms with polearms fighting here, and it looks like my Knights of the Realm are terrified and just beaten into the Shadow Realm. But we get a ton of damage on Throg, and if the fighting does grind out here, these men-at-arms with their bonus versus large are really going to chip away at the Frostworms. was going on with this pack here was something very ugly. But the Knights of the Realm have stabilized as well. One group is still online, the other group pretty much tattered. They're going to be kind of running off into the distance to fight another day. But these Knights of the Realm getting the favor of the Fae, charging into the front line, hammering these Berserkers, but more importantly, the Peasant Bowmen are just doing a ton of work. They're tearing apart Berserkers, they're doing a ton of damage against the back line. And the Peasant Tide of Bretonnia, the Foot Squires and the Peasant Mobs are going to be chasing these guys off the battlefield, doing some good work. And a massive Chalice of Potions hopefully is going to help these guys quite a bit. But with Berserkers coming into the back, King of the Dead is definitely going to be doing some massive work. Just look at these Ragnar Lothbrooks just doing some beautiful work right here. But the main fight's over here, and you can see Big Daddy Throg actually took a ton of damage. The Paladins and the Men-at-Arms and all these guys just did the work of the lady. I do get a regrowth on this Paladin to kind of top him off a little bit. I took some damage myself, but for the most part, I had Knights of the Realm there with the favor of the Fae. I had Polearms. I had a lot of really good counters against what he brought there. Now Throg is going to be running off the battlefield, so the Fae Enchantress is going to try and be the hero of the day. She's going to be charging. That's a Metallica song, isn't it? Hero of the Day? I think it's from one of their albums in the 90s, like Load or Reload. I can't quite remember. But Fae Enchantress is going to be trying to get rid of Throg, but there are some scary threats coming. We do have the Beast of Tashnar, and she is large. She's also very squishy, so the Beast can do some pretty good damage. So I do pull back for a moment. Granted, I probably should have just stayed on it, but we do have some heroes in the distance. The Knights of the Realm coming back in. They're going to be chasing, trying to get on top of Throg, as I do a pull ahead a little bit in the Bounce of Power. But you can see the big dragons are still lurking overhead, and the noble heroes of Bretonnia able to drag down that Shaman Sorcerer. There still are some Berserkers online, and some really good micro over here from King. He actually, I was chasing one of them, so he separates them into two groups and kind of picks me apart here. And it looks like my orders may have been dropped once I caught him, so I probably forgot to reissue that order. So a little bit messy there. Anyways, Battle Pilgrims piling back in. We're just trying to do as much damage as we possibly can to the Brutes of the Hound, one of those units that are very sticky and very tough to deal with in the long game. And this flank's looking okay, but over here you can see it's a little bit actually starting to turn in the favor of Norsca as the Bounce Power does creep back towards the middle here. You can see my Halberds are holding, they're just trying their best, but some Battle Pilgrims coming from a deep journey, a Grail Exodus over here. I'm not sure what they were doing, but anyways, they're back now. They're going to be attacking the Icehorn Marauders and the Spearmen, and they're going to be hopefully, shield bashing some of these guys with their upside down shields, which always makes me laugh. But yeah, the Bretonnian Polearms definitely one of the most, if you guys remember back to Warhammer 1, remember before Bretonnia got the update. Oh man, that guy's having a bad time. But before the update, like Men-at-Arms with Polearms were like the true heart of Bretonnia. Those guys just so good at what they do, at just holding things, right? So the Polearms here holding, the Battle Pilgrims coming in with these steel chairs in the back, going to be doing some substantial damage on those guys. I mean, obviously Norscan infantry are pretty squishy, but the dragons are able to kind of tear out a lot of these troops, just kind of break them off. Peasant mobs and archers are done for. All of these Bretonnians are going to be fleeing over here. Granted, most of them are peasant mobs, and I think Throg is in a little bit of trouble. So he did fall. The Paladins and the Knights of the Realm and the Fae Enchantress were able to smite the Foul Beast. So Norsca is now leaderless. Granted, the main thing about their army, the two dragons are still, fighting. One of them is pretty damn beat up, but the other one's somewhat healthy, and he does charge in with the dragons to attack my Battle Pilgrims and these other troops. But Battle Pilgrims do have Frenzy, but of course when the Frenzy wears off, they're going to lose their immunity to Psych, and that's going to lead to them buckling. But Norsca doesn't have a whole lot left. They got some spears over here. Right here, they do also have the Brutes of the Hound. Actually, that's not necessarily true. They do have Marauder Hunters with Javelins coming back in, but these brave peasants of Bretonnia, man, these guys are awesome. Just coming back in here, but the Paladin's up in the sky doing a fat duel here with the Dragon. So the Dragon's, pretty low. It has 500 HP. I do get an Earthblood off the Paladin. The second Paladin's going to be coming and attacking this Frostworm as well. So at this point, I believe I detach both my troops, and I'm going to be attacking this one Dragon, just trying to isolate and pick them apart. Because if this guy does come back, it's going to be another breath attack I have to deal with. So I have to chase that guy and make sure I finish him off. So the Bretonnians are going to be kind of regrouping. Norsca is coming from this part of the map, but I do have a bit of sandwich coming in. Polearms, peasants coming in, and even these peasants, even though yes, they will lose in combat to Marauder Hunters, but they're going to be able to kind of keep them from throwing, distract them, and they still have a fair amount of HP, 3,248 on those bad boys. Definitely no joke. So these Javelins are back online. They're going to be throwing up at the Paladins, which is a pretty good choice. And I figure, hey, at this point, let's guard my two Paladins. Let's go after the Dragon. We have the advantage. He's beat up. He's wounded. Let the brave chivalrous Knights of Bretonnia fly in there and hopefully finish him off. But we do have a bit of a last stand here. You can see the Fae Enchantress is going to be leading a horde of peasants, which is good. They're tar pitting and allowing her Miss of the Lady and her other effects to do some pretty good work. And I believe a Chalice of Potions is going to be opening up from the skies here. I'm not 100% sure, but it looks like, yes, there's going to be some heavenly magic from the Fae Enchantress, dropping some hot thunder on these guys, and here it comes, dropping some heavy damage on those spears right there. It looked like it actually kind of just clipped them, so yeah, it did damage to who it hit, but at the very least, it's going to help buckle their leadership. But the peasants are kind of faltering a little bit. They're starting to run. They're questioning their decision to charge into those bloodthirsty savages here, but the peasant bowmen in the back are definitely doing a very good job. And it looks like the Dragon might be attacking them, going in for the dive here, but that's going to be good because the Paladins can then kind of counterattack and charge him in the back and hopefully do some good damage. In the meantime, Fae Enchantress does have the Arcane Conduit and the Regrowth, and she's able to fend off the Tides of Norsca. You can see these Marauder Spearmen are pretty much done for, and the other Marauder Hunters, the Javelins, are just being compromised by hordes of peasants, basically. The Fae Enchantress, of course, going to get in here with her Fierce Unicorn, who the Lore Master of Sotek taught me. Apparently, unicorns in Warhammer aren't a joke. These guys are like bloodthirsty murder machines, so he's able to get in there and take care of a couple of those Norscan Berserkers, and that's pretty much going to be it, as the only thing fighting is going to be the Brutes of the Hound, or I should say the Brute of the Hound, as there's only a couple left here. But yeah, well played to King of the Dead. It was a very fun game, very classic kind of a chivalry versus brute showdown, which was fun, but I really think the two heroes of that game were the double paladins. Those guys did a ton of work just countercharging, and they were the ones who actually did a lot of damage to Throg, because Throg kind of ran in temporarily against a bunch of halberds, and from there the two paladins were able to swoop down from the skies, do a ton of damage, butter his bread, pull back, use their speed, and then counterstrike the dragons whenever they went in to attack something, just in those two versus one environments. I don't know why that was so hard for me to say, but anyways, it was definitely a very good show of play here from the paladins. But aside from that, Pilgrims and Footsquires did their job. They fought in an uphill battle against Berserkers, and they still got a fair amount of kills, and they made the lady proud for sure. Peasant Bowmen with the fire arrows tore apart the Berserkers, did some really good damage over the course of the whole fight, and they were definitely a solid pick as well. And yeah, as far as the Norscan army goes, Throg is always a really good choice. This bad boy does a lot of work, and the double Frostworms can be very scary, especially if you go with like elite heavy knights. They slow you down, they frostbite you. From there, you kind of get dragged down by other elements like the spears and Throg. So the Frostworms you definitely have to respect, but I think if I had not brought the two Paladins, I probably would have lost that game if I had gone with anything different. So very well played to my opponent, King of the Dead. We definitely have been playing quite a few games lately, so you guys are going to be seeing a bunch of those games going up here on the channel. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this Bretonnia versus Norsca showdown, and we will see you guys next time. Take care.